to not make this the only council meeting you ever go to. As you start to grow and get older, everything that happens in this town affects you. So you need to keep your eyes and ears open and show up in these meetings till you're at the end of your college years, and then still keep coming. Because we enjoy when the people in the community that are the people that have things happen to them from these meetings show up and have something to say. So with that, I would ask someone from the group 525 to please come forward and pledge allegiance to the flag for us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we have a presentation. Chief Tosco from the fire department, you want the floor first?
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. If you remember, about a year and a half ago, came to the council with the idea of Pulse Point. Pulse Point is a smartphone app that's designed to improve cardiac arrest survival rates throughout any given community and really across the United States now. At that time, Dan Ellenberger from University Hospital approached me with this idea of Pulse Point. I had no idea what it was. He explained that it's part of their Heart Healthy community initiative that UH is promoting and the American Heart Association is promoting. And it basically uses technology to alert ordinary citizens throughout the community who have some CPR training, have the ability and the desire to respond to emergencies. If you recall from before, I spoke about how the second the heart stops, the oxygenation to the brain, to the heart ceases as well. And sometimes within 3 to 4 or 5 minutes, sometimes it's too late to start that heart again. So what we're trying to do is get early CPR and early defibrillation prior to EMS's arrival. Because we're fast and we're a pretty small community. We can generally get there in 4 to 5 minutes, but sometimes that's not enough. We need people to be able to get there in a minute, 2 minutes. So what this app does is alerts, you could be downtown having a cup of coffee and a half a block away someone might collapse from cardiac arrest. Well, as soon as someone calls 911, the dispatch center starts typing in possibly CPR needed. It sends an alert right to Pulse Point. Pulse Point then targets all the smartphones that are on in a quarter-mile radius and sends out an alert. So UH provided the initial funding. It was pretty significant funding for the program. The City of Kent provided the funding for the computer program to patch between Kent State's Dispatch Center and Pulse Point. And then Kent State provided IT support. They provided a server at Kent State, and they've been the ones that really have where Pulse Point resides up at the Kent State CAS. So they've been very, very involved in this. Really is a truly collaborative effort. It took months of hard work. We really started it back in earnest when Kent State went to the new CAD system that they had. They had an old Microsoft platform CAD system that was becoming obsolete. And so we had to wait for the new, it's called Enterprise CAD system, to be installed at their server up on a hill. So once that became reality in earnest last September or so, we started really working on this and got to a point where just yesterday it went live and it's on the production platform right now. So moving forward, we have a couple of different groups. Now that we've got the app up and running, the data is now being forwarded. If we had an alert right now on someone down with CPR needed, that alert would start going out to the phones right now within a quarter-mile radius of the location of the incident. So we have we had need of additional help, of getting the AED locations and putting in the pulse point. We have a lot done so far. We've had some of our guys been working for about 6 or 8 months now, but we have a need to do 2 things, to get more AEDs in the community and to get more people trained in CPR and to have that pulse point app. So I have 2 different groups, the College of Health and Human Services and the College of Public Health, have provided interns to push this out for the community. They've got a lot of work ahead of them, and they're going to be working with some of our guys like Scott Simmons and Craig Peeps here, and they've been really instrumental in that as well. So really our push right now to use February, which is American Heart Association's Heart Month, February 14th, Heart Month, to really push this out to the community. So I wanted to present it to you and just give you a little presentation of what we got going on. So I'd like to bring Dan Ellenberger and Bill Benoit from University Hospital up right now. And like I said, University Hospital provided a lot of money and provided all the support that we've ever needed to get this up and running. Generally, these are in bigger communities, much bigger communities. Akron just got theirs up last year, but for a town our size, we're very fortunate and very blessed to have someone like UH kind of partnering with us. So I'll turn it over to Dan.
Actually, Bill. Bill? I'll let the boss talk always.
Well, as any good hospital president, I think my job is to do whatever the chief and Dan tell me to do. And so that's what I do. But in all actuality, the next phase of this is really trying to help the chief and Dan with more funding for more AEDs. We've engaged the director of our foundation to help to fundraise for this, as well as to continue the collaboration we have with Kent State and the interns to further develop the deployment of this. And again, in all actuality, give as much support to the fire and EMS as we can. And I think the chief sort of mentioned, really why we're doing this, and it's all about survivability, right? We do great things at the hospital, but we really need those first responders, the first folks on the scene to start intervention so that our survivability rates in our community can be as high as they can possibly be. Again, fire does great things, the hospital does great things, but if we can get first responders there even faster, more folks will walk out of the hospital. And I'll hand it over to Dan.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
It's been a while. I just wanted to talk for a couple of minutes. We also have an award. So the fire department actually got an award today, and it's called Mission Lifeline, and we'll talk about that because this is all about building life-saving communities, and that's really what UH is about. And we've been here, we've had cardiac arrest survivors here. How do we get more cardiac arrest survivors? Training everybody in CPR, the Pulse Point app, great ACLS care by the providers. And one of the things that they were able to achieve in 2019 was a Mission Lifeline Award. And the Mission Lifeline Award is from the American Heart Association, and it's about cardiac care. And it comes down to 5 different measures, but it's one, acquiring 12 leads. So remember, we've talked about the 12 lead cardiac monitors. You funded those for the chief. I think we've donated a couple of them also, but it's acquiring 12 leads. So if somebody has an ST elevation MI, the big one, the troops have to identify that right away, and they have to transmit that. And they do that 90 to 95% of the time on all runs. And all of the runs are really anybody that has any sort of ailments between the nose and the navel is what we look at. So 95% of the time, they achieve that award. The next one is they notify the hospital of the 12 leads. So not only do they have to acquire the data, they have to acquire the data within 10 minutes of arrival of the patient, so patient contact. They have to transmit that EKG. Because really, there's a phrase called time is muscle, and it's all about when somebody's having a heart attack, the heart muscle's dying. So it's really about the reperfusion. So when Kent Fire arrives on the scene, somebody's having an ST elevation MI, they press, they press the transmit button. We are alerted that there's an ST elevation MI. It activates our cath lab. And what was it, a month and a half ago, Chief? You had a ST elevation MI that actually ended up in a cardiac arrest.
Wasn't me.
It was not the chief having the cardiac arrest, okay, just so you know. But it was actually a citizen that had was having an ST elevation MI. the troops recognized it, they identified it, they transported, they were transporting the patient, went into cardiac arrest. Their advanced life support skills, they resuscitated the patient. Patient's alive, home with his family now. And why was that? Because it was a continuity of care, and that's really what we're trying to do in Kent, is to make it a heart-safe community, a cardiac arrest-free zone. So that's really the phrases that we're using. The other thing that it does is that the Kent Fire Department, their door to balloon, okay, or actually EMS to balloon, from the time they encounter the patient here in Kent till the vessels open in the emergency department is 100% under 90 minutes. So when you think about that, 5-6 years ago, before Bill actually had the cath labs opened up and they were interventional cath labs, you had to drive to Akron to do that. We can now get that a lot closer. So again, the great work that they're doing, the door to balloons are less than, or EMS to balloons are less than 90 minutes. And then the other thing is that the core measures, so what they received today was the Sober Plus. We're working on the gold for 2020 for them, but, and it's putting this all together, and everything that they've done has been done in less than 10 minutes on the scene by the patient contact. So Chief, I'd like to present this award to you.
Thank you very much. So in the package, I have instructions on, if you'd like, encourage you to download the app, and it kind of guides you through whether you have an Apple phone or an Android. And it's very easy to do.
Do you need your certification from the Red Cross or Fire Department to be CPR first?
That is a good point. That's a good point. Whether you need, Mayor asked, do we need to be certified in CPR? And the answer is no. What we are pushing out to the masses, no, we don't teach CPR, but Red Cross advises everybody as much as they can to take the CPR course. However, we know that's not practical. So what we're trying to do initially is try to train as many people as we can in hands-only CPR, just to put hands on the chest, just to start getting the blood flowing and learn how to use the AEDs. The AEDs are very intuitive right now. You push the button, it tells you exactly what to do. They all have screens and they all have voice prompts that tells you exactly what to do. So that's a good question. So before, I'd like to ask Dr. Wolverton from the College of Public Health to come up and kind of guide us on where we're going to go from here. And then I've got a quick 2-minute little video that kind of describes things in a layman's terms, and really hometown, how this actually kind of goes together. And also in your packet, there are some, we want to have one visual when we go out and do these outlooks. So we have banners we can make up, we have all sorts of things we can make up. And so Pulse Point developed all the graphics. So all I have to do is go to our print shop and have anything I want to print it up. So that's what these other graphics were. So Dr. Wolf.
Thank you, Chief. Council members, there are over 350,000 cardiac arrests every day in the United States. I pause intentionally to let that sink in. Now, at the risk of dating myself, in 1982, I was walking in one of the university buildings where I was in school and stumbled upon an attempt to resuscitate a woman who was in cardiac arrest. And because I had just completed my CPR training, I was able to participate, and that woman survived, not just because of what I did, but there was a group of us, and then the EMS team that came in. I really believe that had there not been lay people there to start hands-on compressions before EMS got there, that woman would not have survived. So with that as context, what the Chief has described for you, in my personal opinion, as a public health advocate and faculty member, I really believe that we have an opportunity here to amplify the wonderful activities that the EMS fire station has to offer citizens in Kent. The College of Public Health has agreed to partner with the city, and we have already pledged 2 interns who will basically go through the city and, using plain old smartphones, GPS locate all of the positions where new AEDs would end up. I've also promised our directors at the university that we will do the same thing there. The goal on campus, my personal goal, is to have an AED in every single building. I don't know if you had a chance to navigate that huge complex up on the hill here, but sometimes those routes to get between buildings are somewhat circuitous. And if there isn't an AED in every building, you're running around trying to figure out where there is one. That's a waste of time, in my opinion. And so we've got 2 interns ready to rock and roll. We have outlined with the dean's approval an ongoing process to help write grants, submit them to get federal funding, state funding, and local funding where appropriate, and that we, together with Portage, want to be able to augment what the city is doing from the fire medic side and helping to support ongoing training of hands-on CPR. So starting next month, University Health Services on campus will begin offering CPR, and that will be advertised as each class is organized. But we figured we might as well join the team at all levels and offer support so that we can ensure that the next time the chief gets a call that there's a cardiac arrest in the city of Kent, there will be somebody within feet, I hope, that can respond with this new app that will alert them as soon as the call comes in to 911. So with your blessing, I'd love to be able to recruit some of you for hands-on CPR training and to also literally walk with our interns as we digitize every place in the city where we hope there will be an AED where there's not one already. So happy to answer your questions.
Yes, what is the time frame of the CPR class? I mean, are they evenings, do they last an hour, 2 hours, does it take 6 months, 6 days?
It depends on which version that you sign up for. You can do CPR online training and get the basic knowledge, and then just go to a support center to learn how to do the compression parts. That's minimal time commitment. All the way up to the type that we'll be teaching, as one of the ones we'll be teaching, which is the advanced life support for EMS personnel and for nurses.
So how much time would it take to go in a class and learn how to do CPR?
I did my training in 2 hours, but I have the advanced training. So
That's it.
That's it. It's good for 2 years, and after 2 years, they want you to renew it.
That's not much, is it?
It's not.
John, I did my training at UH one Saturday morning. It was like 3 hours in and out, and that's the 3rd time I went through the training. And it was very easy, very, tailored to each person and in and out, and it was done. I got my card. Another year I have to go through it again.
Sounds very appealing, thank you.
Heidi?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. This seems to be meant for use in public locations, but what about residential situations where, you're in your house, your phone is going off, there's the person that's in a house across the street from you that's experiencing this situation. What do we do with that?
So this app is only designed for public places only. We don't want people trying to go into people's homes. That can be construed completely wrong. So there's a database, it's a shipping database that Pulse Point uses to differentiate between a residential and a public place. So they use that. So they're only going to public places, that's bakeries, libraries, businesses, things like that. So they will not be going inside people's homes.
Okay, thank you.
John?
How do you tell in this wonderful world of cell phones if a person calls up and says, I think I'm having a heart attack, where they're at? And I know you can locate the area of the phone, but how do you know if they're out in the public or sitting in their living room?
Well, two things, two ways. The GPS location of the phone, if they don't know their address. But if they know their address and they give their address, dispatch doesn't have to do anything. They just type in the address, and all they have to do is type in CPR, 3 little letters. That activates Pulse Point. Pulse Point does everything behind the scenes. So they will determine whether it's a public place or a residential place. So they will not send people, they will not make that CPR alert to any place except a residential, place. They'll only go to the public places.
Doesn't I know sometime when you get in that physical state, that your mental state isn't stable. I thought that even the 911 and the cell phone towers can only get to a certain proximity of the pole. It's not accurate enough to pinpoint it to a resident. Am I mistaken with that, or?
No, they can get pretty close. If you're in a residential neighborhood, it's definitely going to pick up either that address or a nearby address. It always goes to one of the addresses. Now, it's possible it may be picking up Dunkin' Donuts when you're in the house behind it, but it'll only send people to the Dunkin' Donuts. It will not send someone to the house behind it. So, and then another note, we've been teaching and continue to teach all the city employees. Scott's been doing that, the hands-only CPR. So we have been going out and teaching all the city employees this. So we're trying to get them involved as well.
All right.
So if we have a,
Gwen?
I just have one quick comment. I'll take you up on that. I'd like to recertify in CPR. I think this is very exciting. So, what's it?
My class only takes an hour.
I feel like I want
took your class, the first one.
But this is very exciting. Thank you so much, and thank you for the generosity of UH hospital systems. And last time you came and spoke to it, I thought it was interesting then, and this is so exciting. I'm looking forward to getting recertified and sharing this with other residents to download the app. Thank you.
thank you. I just got like a 1.5 minute, 2-minute video, if that's okay. Is somebody able to get the bank of lights here? The popcorn? This kind of gives you an idea of how it works, how it all goes together.
All of a sudden, I know, no one's not breathing, he's not breathing.
131 South Sherman.
I remember that call coming out. Station 1's out of the area. It's going to be at least 8 to 10 minutes before we get a resource there.
I was working in my shop. My cell phone made a noise that I hadn't really heard before.
Things were dire.
We have an infant who's not breathing.
The Pulse Point app resides as a part of your smartphone. It sends an alert that there's a cardiac arrest in your nearby area. Do you want to respond? When the need arises, that's your chance to truly be a hero and save somebody's life.
Pulled the phone out of my pocket and looked, and it said CPR needed, and it was a block and a half away.
I saw my child there went in blue.
Are they waking off?
No.
I remember screaming help me somehow, and I was helpless.
Is today the last day that he'll be alive?
I just saw him come running in. He got there somehow. He found out about it. I didn't know how at that point.
I picked him up and started doing some nose and mouth breathing for him. You could see the look in his eyes. He was like, help, help. Just wanted him to start breathing. The ambulance got there. And as soon as I handed him off to the paramedic, the baby started crying. And we both looked at each other and went, oh, that's a good sign.
The Pulse Point app really allows us to leverage the benefit of the people in the community that want to be part of the solution. He was the closest resource.
Everybody should look up to Jeff. He's a hero. He's a miracle. If he didn't have that app, no one might not be here.
He's 3 years old. He's all that's good, and none of it isn't. The phone saved my son's life.
He's overcome so much in his little life. And he's fought to be here. We call him the little warrior.
So these are the types of stories that we hope to have positive stories out of this. So we thank you for your support and thank you for your time.
Chief, if you stay there, on behalf of myself as the mayor, city council, city manager, his staff, and our support to you, we do have a proclamation for you. I'll read it. Where every year in the United States, approximately 395,000 cases of cardiac arrest occur outside of a hospital setting in which less than 6% survive. Whereas University Hospital provides initial funding and guidance for the City of Kent to begin a project to increase cardiac arrest survival rate in the Kent community. And whereas one of the best methods to improve cardiac arrest survival rate is early notification, early bystander CPR, and early use of the defibrillator. And whereas that Plus Point program utilizes technology to inform knowledge and dedicated community members to get involved in a life-saving CPR and AED use of cardiac arrest victims. And whereas February has been identified as American Heart Association Month since 1963, the City of Kent Fire Department would like to use Heart Month 2020 to urge its community members to join in the battle in increasing cardiac arrest survival rate throughout the community. Therefore, I, Jerry Fiala, Mayor, President of Council, the City of Kent, would like to unanimously support the members of the Kent City Council do hereby refrain and declare February 2020 as University Hospital Plus Point Heart Month in the City of Kent and urge all the residents to join in with me. So, Chief, I have the large print, you have the small print. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, guys. We're going to move on forward. Next, we have a little presentation by the KSS Robotic presentation of the console. I think Harrison's responsible for bringing that to us. Not that we shouldn't know it's out there in the community, but Harrison, you want to start this off?
All right, as the team charged up gets set up here, I'll give a couple of background facts about the team. So this is a group from KSS Robotics. They are doing a challenge here called the City Shaper Challenge for this year. We have Josh Crawley. He's the coordinator organizer with this team. And so I'm going to hand it off to him to explain a little bit about what they're doing, their project, and the sequence of events that have led them up to here.
Hello, thanks for your time today. So actually, one of the things that FIRST really encourages is the term gracious professionalism. And as part of that, we do encourage the team members to do their own research and to kind of act on their own. So I'm actually going to turn it over to the team today because the story behind what we're doing is that we are a Lego Robotics Club. We've been competing at several tournaments, and these guys are in 5th grade, 11 to 13 years old, and they've been doing very well with their project this year. So I'll turn it over to them to explain what we've got going on here.
Hello, I am Blake. I am a researcher and builder for our team, and our team meets at the KSS Robotics building located at 1640 Franklin Avenue in Kent. FIRST is a global organization and stands for Inspiration and Recognition in Science and Technology. KSS Robotics offers 3 FIRST programs for kids ages 5 to 18 years.
There are over 150 countries participating in FIRST LEGO Leagues, and each year these teams are given a challenge to work on throughout the season. Past challenge topics have been hydrodynamics, trash truck, and space. This year's challenge is called City Shaper. Our challenge is to go out and learn about our town and present a solution for a problem that we found.
Our solution was to use certain plants in decorative applications inside buildings to help clean air and offset carbon dioxide production.
This year has been a busy year for our team. To start, representatives in Kent City Manager's Office and faculty in the Kent State University College of Architecture and Environmental Design took us on a walking tour of downtown Kent. We were shown examples of sustainable building and urban planning, most notably a water retention pond with native plants adjacent to the Kent City Police Station. We were especially interested in how plants were able to filter toxic chemicals out of the rainwater runoff. This got us thinking about plants.
Next, our team met with Casey Weir, who is the director of Brimfield Parks and Recreation Department. Dr. Brent Tippy from the Kent State College of Architecture talked with us about eco-friendly building design and using recycled materials in new building construction.
For our project this year, we chose indoor air quality. We chose this topic after each team member presented problems that they noticed with some of the buildings we saw in our town. After we presented our ideas, we voted on each of them until we narrowed it down to air quality. We also chose this as a project as it affects us more as kids. One thing that we noticed about our projects was that we all added plants to our building drawings as a solution.
Through our research, we learned that certain plants help with air quality issues better than others.
After our presentations, we were watching a TED Talks video where Dr. Kimmel Miel used 4 plants for each of his employees to purify the indoor air in the city of New Delhi, where Dr. Miel works. There is a 50,000 square foot facility that employs 300 people. There are a total of 1,200 plants of certain sizes in the building. This breaks down to 4 plants for each employee. The plant project has been so successful for them that, according to Dr. Miel, the employees' blood oxygen levels have actually gone up by 1 point.
The 3 plants used in the Delhi experiment and ours were number 1, the mother-in-law's tongue, or a snake plant, good at eating CO2. Number 2, the money plant, indicates toxic air by turning yellow. 3, Areca palm plant, an air purifier.
To test our plant filtering idea, we built a wooden frame test chamber wrapped in plastic to air seal each half. Our team then used a carbon dioxide analyzer in the custom-built chamber.
We introduced a small amount of CO2 from a pressurized tank and monitored the 2 halves of the chamber for 48 hours to see if the levels of CO2 were decreased due to the plants being in there. The results of each test was a 50% reduction of CO2 on the side with the plants. Our test results are displayed on our project board. We discussed our test results with a mechanical engineer named Bill Spoon. By trade, Bill is an air quality expert. He told us to switch sides of the chamber to see if our positive test results followed the plants, and it did.
This brings us to our purpose of our visit today. We would like to propose and be a part of an installation of a living plant wall in the future Kent City Hall. We have also provided a rough cost analysis and sample images for this project, and we would like to leave this with you tonight. Please take a look at these at your convenience and feel free to contact us if you have any further questions on this amazingly sustainable indoor air quality project.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So, questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, could you tell me again what the different plants do? The palm tree purifies the air, right?
Yep.
And what does a mother-in-law's tongue do?
It eats CO2 in the air.
It eats CO2, and then you said that the money plant turns yellow when there's toxins in the air, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got stickers. Oh, thank you so much.
Stickers too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you very much.
We're going to have to go to the plants now.
Shake my hand.
Once he starts going there, I'll
There you go. Always shake somebody's hand.
Thanks, sir. Well done. Appreciate it.
600.
That's great.
Who's gonna water?
That's great.
One thing you
Wow.
don't worry about painting.
That's right.
Oh, cool.
I have to get signed on.
Wow, I love it. Oh my gosh, let me take a
Really
picture
good
of
stuff.
this. That's what I want.
I never knew there was mother.
That's what I want in our
Okay.
city
Very
hall.
nice.
There you
Yeah,
go.
very
I was thinking
nice.
of putting
Very
a tree
nice.
in the city hall. What do you guys think of that?
We're not married.
Yeah. Where's the robot?
No, but
One in the atrium, remember originally?
Those are great. Those are some really great pictures. Those are really good ideas that we can use.
That's really nice.
Thank you so much.
Nice job.
What's the Lego?
Great, nice
Have the
job, guys. What is
mother-in-law's
this?
phone.
Yeah, I used to have the snake plant.
I have
Think
for
of
our
the color.
competition.
Oh, that's your competition? Okay.
For our competition, we not only have a project that we have to do with like the community,
Got that
we
in.
also have like a Lego
Well, my
robot
office is
competition.
Super, huh?
nothing.
Are there any questions?
Good idea.
Mother-in-law's time might though.
Well, I want to thank you for coming here, and
so much.
we're educated, wasn't it?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to hearing from you.
To join our
Really
Sustainability
good.
Commission.
Would you like to submit your comments for the record? Would you like,
Come on over here, guys.
Thank you, Moss.
Thank you.
would you like your comments for the record? Your speech? Oh, it's here?
Good to see you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
My Batman's coming.
It's faded.
It's faded.
All right,
He's a
we're
faded
gonna-
Batman.
Never heard of this.
It faded on my
KSS
birthday.
robot.
Oh, they have like a booth at the
Heritage Festival or something. I know my Fiala's my housemate, hanging out with them for a while.
Is the
Should be a plant in the picture, I think.
37348.
Oh, it's somebody took, oh, there you go.
They're dying.
These are done.
They're yellow.
read your
Those used
material.
to be Liz's, I think. I'll come and water.
Okay, we're gonna move on to business.
Harrison,
Thank you.
What? Tracy, what?
what do your T-shirts represent?
Oh, did you hear that
What
question?
do your
Harrison,
T-shirts
what's it-
What's the
represent?
T-shirt?
Oh, this is our team name.
That's your team name. Okay. Okay. Is there something
Yeah.
significant about that percentage?
It's our team number.
It's your team number? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he designed it?
Oh, you designed it.
Yeah, it's kind of high.
There you go.
Our original design for it started out last year when we all brought in names and pictures. First, we started out with names, and then we all voted on them. And then we all came up with designs and then voted on them. And then our name came up as Charged Up, and it started out with a little cloud and a lightning bolt. But we wanted to represent our team more this year, and so we made a battery and a charge symbol to represent charging, and then we put an arrow inside of it to represent charged up, and then we also had an idea that was thought of by the team, which was up here, the percentage of the battery was supposed to be our team number, 37348.
Super.
Nice.
Nice. A lot of thought went in that
Yeah.
one.
That's great.
And we would have brought plants tonight, but they don't do well in the
We,
cold.
we got, they're turning yellow back here.
That's a money
Any
plant,
ideas?
too. That's a money plant, by the way. Yeah.
This one here, right?
Our money plant is turning yellow. What does that
The
mean?
money plant.
Needs water.
Too much hot air.
All right, we're gonna move around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
we need approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to accept the minutes,
Move to
Judge?
approve the
Is
minutes.
there a second? Roger, you second that?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same,
Abstain.
one abstention. All right, communications, is there anybody from the audience? Work?
Yes. Thomas Myers.
Tom,
Thomas Myers?
you're up.
Yep.
We give you 3 minutes, give your name and address, and nothing abusive to us.
I'm Tom Myers. I live at 1750 Oak Hill Drive, Kent, Ohio, out in Twin Lakes. I'm here to talk about the ARB. Members of City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak to you today for a few minutes about the proposed temporary extension of the ARB overlay district into my property located on the corner of Summit and Franklin Avenue. First, however, I must lodge a formal complaint about the lack of due process that has been used in bringing this proposal forward. I will spare you all the recitation of Kent's code ordinances pertaining to notification, but I have included such comments in a letter that has been distributed to you. Simply put, I do not believe that this newly proposed legislation was properly initiated, nor do I believe that the affected parties, in other words me, were properly notified of this proposed action or this meeting. Does anyone know of a place in this country where governmental legislation is proposed over privately owned property where the owner is not first consulted and officially notified? Personally, I am not aware of any public notification that was made for this proposal, and I only found out about it via word of mouth. I've been told that this proposed stopgap legislation will protect our approved hotel project and any unsubstantial changes that may be made to it from further mandatory ARB review. But the proposed wording as presented to you tonight does no such thing. Any changes could reintroduce the ARB into this process. And that's because changes can be subjective, according to the people. To be clear, as a lifelong resident of this city, I am not against the concept of architectural review. But the more I have studied the ARB overlay district, the guidelines that it uses, and the composition of the board itself, the more I am convinced that a thorough review of this process is desperately needed. The ARB's guidelines appear to be primarily directed toward historic renovation and reconstruction, which may apply to the historic downtown district, but are inadequate when reviewing structures that have no historic significance in areas that are not historically significant themselves. The ARB is currently composed of one licensed architect, an engineer, an unlicensed graduate architectural student, a draftsman, and a banker. I am sure that these people are well-intentioned individuals, but it is arguable that this group even meets the ARB's own written membership qualifications, which are intended to bring a wealth of knowledge to historic preservation, architectural design guideline development, and urban planning. I would suggest to you that all of this has probably led to some very arbitrary decision-making. We are now being told that we must urgently pass this temporary legislation. But where is this emergency? I have a project, it's been approved, we're moving forward, it's in technical review right now. The status quo still provides for a process of review at the ARB and approval at the Planning Commission, a process that we ourselves had to go through for 9 months. Why not take the time and properly review this process and get it right instead of perpetuating a flawed process? I respectfully request, therefore, that this temporary legislation be either tabled or just outright denied. This issue is far too important to be dealt with in such a rapid and haphazard manner. A piecemeal approach is the wrong approach, and before any consideration is given to further expansion of the current overlay district, a thorough review of the Kent zoning code, which I understand is underway, should be properly completed. Thank you for your time.
Peter Pano?
Note to the record, this is on file.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
Yes, we have a,
Do you have one?
we have a copy of a letter from Mr. Myers.
Who's next?
Okay, that's
All
okay.
right.
And Chris Wolverton had already spoken, so we're all set.
All right, thank you. Written communications?
The Planning Commission agenda and staff report. for January 7th was received on December 24th, 2019, and the agenda and staff report for January 21st was received on January 13th, 2020. The Sustainability Commission meeting agenda for January 6th and the minutes from November 4th were received on January 2nd, 2020. The Board of Elections notification of availability to view the galley proofs of the ballots to be used at the primary election on March 17th, 2020 were received on January 9th. A copy of this letter was emailed to City Council and City Administration. Health Board meeting minutes and statistical report from December 2019 and agenda for January 14th Board of Health meeting was received on January 9th, 2020. Parks and Recreation Board packet for January 16th, 2020 was received on January 15th, 2020. And the Ohio Ethics Commission official list of elected officials and notification of filing requirements was received on January 14th, and a copy was emailed to all elected officials on January 15th, 2020.
With the last statement, the clerk read, those that need a hard copy, please contact the clerk so they can get it. And the rest of you can take it and do it online. That's it?
That's it.
All right, city manager report, Mr. Amrhein.
Yes. Everything looks fine. I move that we approve all the items on the city manager's report.
Second.
Second by Heidi. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. We're in the standing committees. The first one is the committee of the whole. I need a motion to accept the minutes from the January 8th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Gwen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Abstain.
One abstention. That takes us down to community development. Mr. Kuhar.
You do the action.
Actions.
I'll move the action.
Oh, I'm sorry.
From the January 8th, 2020.
Second.
Second for the action of the committee of the whole. Any
Second.
discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Now, community development, Mr. Kuhar.
I would move to approve the committee meeting minutes for January 8th.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Sidoti. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
One abstention.
I move the one action recommended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the act? What?
Yeah.
Roger?
Yeah, I'd like a discussion. I think there some issues have been raised here about notice. Is that something that should be taken into consideration?
And I would ask council to table both the action and draft 2020-01 so that we can review what has been brought up.
How do we do that?
I'll propose an amendment.
Okay.
All right.
I'd like to amend that we send this back to committee for further review.
Second.
Tracy, discussion?
My understanding of the proposal is that it does not affect the current project whatsoever. This is if another project comes in, like maybe a storage unit or something like that, then the Architectural Review Board would have an interim action. But as it is right now, the current project is just advisory for the Architectural Review Board, no matter what happens with the current project.
Can I? Sure.
Heidi?
Thank you. Well, you know, I really have to agree with Mr. Myers in that. I felt like, it felt strange to me like there was a sense that there was this urgency that maybe there might be a bait and switch here going on, that, you know, there's a hotel, but no, we're really going to put a McDonald's in there or whatever. And even so, that would have to pass through so many other boards. I don't really know the point of making this contingent on the Architectural Review Board at this time. I think that the zoning review can discuss this particular area and have a you know, a more thorough discussion that's timely. So I would agree that we should move it into committee or table it or whatever is the motion.
The motion was to send it back.
Committee back over again there?
She said the table.
Yeah, John. The motion was to send it back to administration. It was not to table it. Am I correct?
Yes. But could I make,
Because tabling and then sending it back to administration, two
I'd like
different
to
things.
get, well, I'd like to send it back into administration, I think is
Well,
what I mean.
right now,
Roger,
right,
would you repeat your motion, please?
Well, I moved it to send it back to the committee, but that was implying that our administration.
well, right now, you're on the action recommended, 8.2.2.
Right.
And I proposed an amendment to that. I mean,
Okay, and that's where we are. When we get
Right.
down to the draft,
That's going to be tabled.
that I would ask that be tabled.
Gotcha.
well, all I want to say is that I agree about I don't agree with Mr. Meyer's comments about the intent, because I really believe if we're going to expand the central district, it should follow that whatever the ARB does for the central district, if we expand it theoretically to the north or to the west, then the ARB should be able to do that. But I also agree that without notice and without a mechanism to do that effectively, I think that we should either table, or my recommendation is to move it back to the administration and have some committee time to understand.
Mike, did you have your hand up? Okay. Okay,
I have my hand up. Why was this not brought up during committee then, at the time?
Mr. Meyer is the one that brought it up. Our reading of parts of the code may be different than his, but he brings up some valid points that I don't want to just sit here and say, no, we're right and he's wrong. I would really like to take what he has written and go back and make sure that we're doing the right thing. And if we haven't done the right thing,
Fix it.
we fix it.
So should we take it back into committee then? Because if it's tabled, it's just doing nothing, right?
Yes, it is, but while it's tabled, we will be working on our side to figure out if, what's right and what's wrong.
Okay.
And then I would ask Dave to ask you to bring it back out on another agenda, and that's how we'll get it back into committee.
Would you like me to amend my motion?
I'd like to just know what your motion is exactly.
My motion at this point is to table this at this point and wait for something from our administration.
Are we ready for a vote, or we need to go to the
Oh.
action?
This is just on the action recommended, it's not on
Yeah.
anything
This
else.
is just an action.
If there's a motion to table in a second, there's no debate on it. And there's no other motions that can be talked about. It just goes to a vote.
You want to second me?
I'll second.
Second by Gwen. John, take the vote.
All in
Sure.
favor of the motion to amend?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That was right. Was there
Remember I changed it to table?
the amendment to table? Okay. Passes. So
All right.
the original motion now is gone, right? The original.
Everything's gone, isn't it?
Everything's withdrawn.
Everything's withdrawn.
Okay, it's tabled.
We're moving on.
We're moving on. And with all that
With all that said,
done,
All right.
draft number 2020-01 has been asked to be tabled. Is there a motion to do that?
so
Moved.
Moved by Mike. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Is there any discussion? No discussion needed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
There we go.
I'm glad we got through that.
All right, want me to take over, Jerry?
Finance committee.
Okay, I'm just trying to help you out here a little bit.
I need it tonight.
I'd like to move the approval of the minutes from January 8th, 2020 meeting.
second.
Second by Gwen.
Garrett's not here, that's the problem.
Also like to move the action recommended.
Second.
No. Oh, okay.
Second.
Are you consolidating both those or just three?
Well, no, she said.
All right, you got to vote on
Yeah,
it.
you did.
Oh, we got to vote on
You forgot to vote on
Yeah, we didn't vote on the minutes yet.
All those approve the minutes?
Aye.
It was your job.
Abstain.
That's your job.
Yes, we're falling apart here.
All right.
The action recommended?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Will you take over?
Okay.
Then there's drafts.
All right. Would the clerk please read draft number 2020-02 in title only?
Draft number 2020-02, an ordinance authorizing the Parks and Recreation Director or his designee to enter into an agreement with Branstetter Carroll, Inc. and the City of Kent Parks and Recreation Department for a comprehensive parks master plan, waiving competitive quoting and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-02 has passed.
First of the year. With the clerk read draft number 2020-03 in title only.
Draft number 2020-03, an ordinance accepting a grant donation in the amount of $5,000 to the City of Kent Parks and Recreation Department from the Henry V. and Francis W. Christensen Foundation for the Downtown Kent Gazebo Project and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Mike, and is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
2020-03 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-04 in title only?
Draft number 2020-04, an ordinance authorizing the creation of a temporary position in the city manager's office, which will be titled Temporary Administrative Specialist, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Please call the roll on adoption.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-04 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Is there further, Mr. DeLeone?
No, that's all.
Health and safety, there's no business under that. Land use, Ms. Schaefer?
Yes, I would move that we approve the minutes of the January 8th, 2020 meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kuhar. Is there any discussion?
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Abstain.
What, Mike?
I would,
Just,
There
you're
is no
changing things
action.
up.
All right, that's it. Streets and sidewalks, Mr. Sidoti?
Yes, I'd like to move that the minutes of the January 8th, 2020 committee meeting be approved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
All those in favor?
You're supposed to say that. I think it's the beard thing. You don't have that beard
Gone.
anymore?
It's gone.
Who's that guy in the Bible that cut his hair? Or his hair grows?
I couldn't help myself.
Abstain.
One
One
abstention.
abstention. I'd like to also move that
Was that a
the,
vote?
that the three actions,
One abstention.
the three actions be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-05 in title only?
Draft number 2020-05, an ordinance authorizing Oleo Development Group, a water tap-in for the new Arby's fast food restaurant, which will be relocating from 1630 East Main Street to 1821 State Route 59 outside the city of Kent and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll for suspension.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes. Move adoption.
Second.
Is there any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Heidi?
Yeah, I just want to go on record as saying that I'm disappointed with this business for not joining our JED, especially when they're moving from the city. That's all I have to say. I will vote to approve the tap-in fees, and I just want to say I'm disappointed.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Come on.
Thank you.
Should I call the roll on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Draft 2020, ordinance 2020-05 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-06 in title only?
Draft number 2020-06, an ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to enter into a license agreement between the City of Kent and Random Ohio LLC to allow for the installation of an outdoor patio and entrance at 101 Crane Avenue and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Please call the roll on suspension.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Second by Roger. Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeone?
Abstain.
Ordinance 2020-06 has passed.
Okay, thank you. Would the clerk read draft number 2020-07 in title only?
Draft 2020-07, a resolution authorizing the City of Kent to submit an application for the National Bike-Friendly Community designation through the League of American Bicyclists and declaring an emergency.
Move suspension.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Move adoption.
Second.
Any discussion on adopting this ordinance? Seeing none, please call the roll for adoption.
Mr. DeLeone?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhar?
Yes.
Ms. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Shaffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sidoti?
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Ms. Wallach?
Yes.
And Mr. Amrhein?
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-07 is passed.
Okay, thank you. Is there further, Mr. Sidoti?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
For special committee reports, is there anything? Unfinished business, is there anything?
Is unfinished
Tracy?
business considered stuff we've already talked about once?
Pardon?
Is unfinished business considered stuff we've already talked about once?
Yeah, I guess, it's unfinished.
Yeah, I would like to move the discussion about the idling of cars into a committee as quickly as possible, because this is a, climate change is a crisis situation at this point. We need to start working on this as quickly as we can. Every little bit helps.
Second.
Further discussion, Tracy? Further discussion, Heidi?
Nope.
Anybody else have discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else on our unfinished business, Mr. Kuhar?
No, mine's new.
Oh, yours is new? All right, we're in new discussion. Heidi?
It's you or me?
I called on Heidi, she had her hand up.
Okay, well, I guess this is new business. I would just like to, encourage the administration to work with the architects in considering putting a plant wall in the new city hall. I think that's a fabulous idea. I don't know if that has to be a motion or anything. I just think that that's, I just put it under new business rather than my comments. But I think it's a fabulous idea. I love that presentation. And, my suggestion would be to put a tree in there, but, we could have a tree and a plant wall. But I think it was a wonderfully researched project. And I think that, we can do our city proud by taking something that the citizens came up with and installing it.
Was there a second to her motion?
I don't know, is that a motion? Second? Okay.
I don't know if it's a motion.
I made the motion.
Well, do you have any more to say, Heidi?
Nope.
Tracy, you have something to say?
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
But that'll be a new thing.
Anybody else have discussion? Gwen, you have your hand half up.
Is the motion to put a plant wall?
It's
or
to consider putting a plant wall. You know, I was directing the administration to work with the architects to consider the installation of a plant wall. There you go. How's that?
I just want to be sure. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Oh, Jack.
I don't want to water these 600 plants, that's all.
Heidi.
So whoever atop this can water the 600 plants. right?
Heidi's going to do it.
Okay.
Write that into Amy's.
600 plants.
Put a rain trough up there and automatically do it.
That's what we'll do. We'll just put
Anybody
plants
else?
up there.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mr. Kuhar, no?
Over the past several years, we've worked out options for people that have downtown residents to have overnight parking, so they have someplace to put their vehicles. After doing so, what we've come up with is that, what do they do if they don't happen to be the people that work at 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon? Wonder if they're the people that work from 10 at night or 4 in the afternoon till midnight. What do they do the next day if there's only 2-hour parking spots in the vicinity? So I'd like to move that we go to the Parking Action Commission and see if they can solve the problem of having parking for people that live downtown, so they can figure out what to do the rest of the 12 or 14 hours.
Is there a second to that? Need a second.
I just got a comment.
I'll second that for
All right.
discussion.
Further discussion, John?
Yeah, it just looks like, it looks like people are paying hockey, trying to find places to park every 2 hours. I think there used to be 10-hour parking spots, but they're gone now. I might be wrong. But as we start to grow, especially with some of the visions that we have in sight, this problem ain't gonna go away.
Heidi?
Yeah, I would like to know whether there is a certain individual or individuals that are impacted. But there should be some kind of recourse for these individuals. And I would hope that there would be some response by the Parking Action Committee on what they could do in those situations.
Tracy?
Yeah, it seems to me that we talked about this when we put those conditions there, that they would go to, I don't know who it was, and get special permission or special permits or things like that. Because we talked about this once before.
That's handled for the nighttime. But what we're talking about is where they go during the daytime. And then, and another thing that's thrown into the ringer is, we have an emergency snow ban in Kent on all the streets when it snows. So, just a few little issues.
All right. The motion is referred to the Parking Action Committee. Anybody else have any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Tracy?
Yeah, I was thinking that since we're the tree city, maybe we can give this to Sustainability Commission or something like that, but we could have like a tree planting week or tree planting day where everybody plants trees to help.
Arbor Day. We do.
April.
Well, yeah, but this will be like more of a city thing. So, I don't know, look into something like that, and the city gives trees out or something or whatever, I don't know.
Maybe in combination with Davy Tree.
I'll order up some blue spruces.
Something like that.
Wait, is there a second to this?
I'll second.
Second by Mike?
Yeah, just
Further discussion, Tracy?
Yeah, just to look into it, see, maybe we can do like an event like that or something like that.
Mike?
They've done that in the past. I know they have. I know we planted trees in some of the cemeteries on Arbor Day also, so.
Now, when,
I would say some of the downtown businesses, I know Madcap and Tree City Coffee and Pastries have had like small trees or saplings they've worked with in conjunction with some like larger companies or like suppliers and things like that. I think specifically on Arbor Day. So I think that there already is like action in the community specifically on Arbor Day. So I would think something like this would be better to like kind of, embellish the already existing Arbor Day rather than create a separate day, so as not to lose momentum.
John?
I love trees. I don't like leaves, but we also have to take into consideration that when we're talking about public property, we have to be very selective and careful where we plant trees, especially along the roadways. So I guess, are we talking about people planting trees in their yard on private property, or we have little park locations we want to plant trees? 'Cause I don't think alongside the roadways, I think that's handled pretty much unless there's some barren spots. And if there are, that'd be a good place to plant a tree, as long as it's the right kind of tree in the right place. I'm looking to plant about 30 trees at home.
Yeah. This would be everywhere. I mean, we've got Haymaker Parkway where we could plant them in the right of way. People can plant them at home. We need to get trees going for climate change.
Let's not have the
This would be like a
committee meeting
climate
tonight.
change.
Let's put it in committee.
I agree.
Roger?
Yeah, I would agree, but I also would suggest that part of the committee discussion may be partnering with the premier tree company in the world that's on Route 43, Davy Tree. See if, we could do something collaboratively with them.
Also have a shade tree commission.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a shade tree commission,
Get everybody involved, yeah.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Anything else?
Salt kills trees.
That's something else.
Heidi?
I would love to, getting back to the CPR issue, I would definitely be interested in doing a CPR class if there was something for council members in the evenings. So,
Dr. Scott Simmons?
yeah, it's not a motion or anything, I just wanted to make that.
That's just your opinion.
As a comment. Council member comments.
Wait, I still have new business.
Oh,
I
sorry.
like that comment.
Do you have something, Gwen?
I have new business. Are we still on new business?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. In light of the new city website that we have, I'd like to revisit how we advertise for our vacancies on boards and commissions. And then along the same lines as that, I'd like to just ask that the city provide maybe a report back on how we can kind of make more uniform some of like the lengths of terms or term limits and things like that, because I know different boards and commissions have different lengths and some require term limits, some don't. I'd like to just hear back from the city some ways that we can kind of expedite filling these vacancies on the boards and commissions and not have it so cumbersome, going forward.
Second.
Further discussion, Gwen?
No, just that, I think, the Tree City Bulletin is great, but, I feel like, since it's quarterly, it would really be more expedient to just go ahead and have that kind of ongoing. We can kind of get these things posted and have it up on the website, or whatever the city, deems is the best way to reach people, or how we, just to keep it consistent. And likewise, since we're looking at the boards and commissions, just looking for like a consistency in the terms and the term limits and things like that, because from what I understand, they vary from board to commission. I think it would be easier to understand for residents and for me, frankly.
Just a minute, Mike.
for
You seconded it.
Yeah, I want to say that, I really carefully read our website, and I really appreciate that we were able to get so much more material on, including information about the boards and commissions. So I think that might be an ideal place to put upcoming vacancies anticipated or whatever, just to get people, give them a little bit of notice. That would be great.
Mike?
Isn't all that in the city charter, though, that stuff for I'm not sure if it is or not.
Some of it's in our standing rules.
We talked about our standing rules.
It's in the standing rules on how to advertise for
I
boards
don't
and
know, that's
commissions.
I think he means the terms of
Term
office.
limits.
Oh, okay. They are too.
It's in the charter.
Charter.
But there seems to be different places, different things, so it's not a simple question,
We'd
right?
have to do some research and then get back.
Yeah,
and-
exactly.
I think it's in the charter.
The motion was for a report from the city, so.
Yeah, and I think that I would encourage you to look at all of it, because one of our concerns is trying to fill all those boards and positions. So maybe there's a better way or a different way that we can get the word out to the community that we're looking for good people and we want them to be here. So it's probably a good time to do it.
Yeah.
Heidi?
Yeah, and piggyback on that, I mean, we are looking for a diverse representation on these committees, so this might be a better way to reach a wide range of folks.
Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Is there further? The only thing I got on the mayor's report, I left it in front of you. Don't forget, we're going to the ballot on March 17th for the city levy. Brings in $325,000 a year, which we use for various departments, police, fire, leaf pickup, snow removal, and that kind of stuff. So get to your constituents and get the word out that we need that. And the other thing is, there's a thing about the police academy starting on February 20th. If none of you have done it, I suggest you do it. Gwen's done it, I've done it. I don't think anybody else around here, but it's a real good way to really understand what our police department does in a daily routine, and it's as close as you'll ever get to step in the shoes of a police officer. I highly recommend it. With that, we're adjourned.
Mr. Mayor, the primary, March 17th?
Don't we have an
I thought it
executive
was always
session?